Well, we have, you always tell when a student asks a question, it's very good. We have restored their electricity. We have restored a lot of their sewer and water system. You know, in the early stages of that, of course, the terrorists blew some of it up, and it took longer to do that. They do have wealth. They have natural wealth. They have oil, and that is their biggest wealth at all. Right now, they're continuing to fight against the infiltration by Ahmadinejad terrorist groups, and the ones he's supporting, not only there but also in Syria. And it's going to be a long haul. I'm simply saying that you know, we cannot continue to do this economically or in any other category around the world every time there is a problem. Look at what happened in Libya right now. Gaddafi continues. We just had another major bombing run today, a daylight raid, first one in some time. And he's on TV saying, "Nah, nah, 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 you didn't get me." What is that? Obama promised that'd be over in days. It's now been months. Once you get, you know, Pete Seeger had this song, "Against the Vietnam War," before your time. We're knee deep in the big muddy, and the big fool says to push on. I mean, you've got to be careful about this. Where we put our treasure, our human resources, and other things. You can argue whether Iraq was a good idea or not. Yes, it was based on false intelligence, but it was the same intelligence seen by the British and by everybody else. And everybody signed off on it, including Democrats in the Congress, in authorizing Bush to go to war. Certainly, you know, he had a person named Chemical Ali, and he was in charge. I think it was a he, maybe it was a woman. He was in charge of biological and chemical weapons in development. So was this beyond Saddam Hussein that he might go nuclear? No. So, okay, we gave him an opportunity. Now it's up to them to do something with it. But no, I agree with you. I think that was a major mistake. That was Rumsfeld and company to destroy the army. But, you know, for some explanation there, most of these people were Baathists, and they felt that by getting rid of them, they would get rid of the Saddam Hussein loyalists. It turned out that just brought chaos instead. But look, war is imperfect. I mean, you know, innocent people get killed, and a lot of bad things happen. So, nothing's perfect. Yes, sir, in the back.
I guess here, I'd just like to ask you something. What exactly is your position on the Muslim religion? I mean, I'm very much a Christian, but I guess I've heard other people online and things like that disparage you about it. I guess I'd like to just ask for your clarification about what your views are on the Muslims, specifically from you yourself.
Well, you go back to the origin, and you see where Abraham had 2 sons. And this is what happens when you try to help God along with a promise he has made, think he's on a wrong schedule, and and his wife gives, you know, Sarai gives her slave girl or whatever to him to go ahead. She's tired of hearing him complain everything, and she thinks she's beyond, she is, by human terms, childbearing. So here, take the slave girl. So that's Hagar, right? And out of that comes Ishmael. And even so, God promises to make out of him a great nation, and he certainly did. And I see, I'm not a prophet, I'm certainly not Harold Camping or in his camp, okay? We're still here, are we? Yeah. But it's October 21st now, so watch out. Oh. Yeah, that's the new one. I see, personally, the 2 lines of Abraham coming down to the final conflict. Now, I can only go back to what the one I follow said. He said, "I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me." No one comes to God by, you know, Shintoism, Islam, Reverend Moon, or any of these other faiths, cults, or whatever you want to label them. He is unique because he is the only one that deals with our real problem, which is sin. He's the only one that deals with the internal problem. If you read or saw the movie, which was not, in my judgment, well crafted in this scene, Voyage of the Dawn Treader, C.S. Lewis, part of the Chronicles of Narnia series, when that worthless human being known as Eustace is turned into a dragon, and he comes to a point of repentance, and he tries tearing the scales off. He doesn't want to be a dragon anymore, but he can't get them all off. And finally, Aslan, the Christ prototype, does something that he can't do in his own power. He reaches down inside him and pulls out the rest of the scales from within and makes him clean again. A beautiful picture of redemption. Didn't quite make it in the movie, unfortunately. They wanted to cut the whole scene, but, you know. Anyway, so there are certain unique claims to the one that we follow. And Islam is a perversion of that. It is a works religion. It is, a true Muslim cannot be sure if you ask them if they're going to go to heaven when they die. They have to hope that Allah will let them in because they did the 5 pillars of Islam. Or the only fast track lane, of course, if you become a martyr, which means you've got to kill somebody else, which is the antithesis of turning the other cheek and in personal relationships and all the rest. So that's I mean, I don't hate them, certainly. I mean, I know Muslim people, and I can converse with them, and and we shouldn't fear them. We should go out and I mean, if they're among us in our country, those of us who are followers of Jesus, they respect Jesus as a prophet. We'll ask him how, he said all these things, so how can you respond by denying what he said, because he is kind of unique, more than a prophet. So we can have conversations, we should. Anyway, they'd say I'm crazy. Yes?
I just wanted to say thank you, and hope you never get discouraged and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And all the means you have.
Thank you very much. Well, I do occasionally, but my cat cheers me up.
Got one down here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hi. Oh, let's start with you and then we'll go to you. Yeah.
Okay.
Where are you from?
I'm from Northern Virginia, but I go to school at UVA.
Oh, good. Okay. What do you study?
Math and economics.
Oh, good. My worst subjects.
Not relating to those, but in reference to the UK article, I couldn't tell if this was part of the article or an aside, but you mentioned Muslims who don't assimilate or refuse to assimilate.
Right.
What precisely do you mean by that? Like, what would qualify as proper assimilation in your opinion?
Very good question. Thank you. Well, in Britain, as well as Paris, especially North Paris, and in increasing neighborhoods in Germany, they have formed their own neighborhoods. Some of the British courts now have allowed Sharia law to be used in some of these neighborhoods. Not British law, but a Sharia law. Now, not for the big stuff yet, but for things like marriage, divorce, economic stuff, usury, all these other things. This is a very bad precedent. No Jews are asking for this, and if they did, they wouldn't get it. No Christians are asking for special treatment because of their faith. No atheists are asking. No other group of belief or non-belief or economic or political or religious systems are asking for this. The only reason they're getting it is because the people in power, with the power to give it to them, are afraid of being blown up. I mean, let's just be honest about it, okay? Whether you're a Dutch cartoonist or whatever, you don't do certain things because so they might come to your door and slit your throat because that's what you see on YouTube and on the evening news. So that has kind of a chilling effect on offending these people, some of them who are disposed in this manner. So that's the problem. They don't want to assimilate. The great mystery, of course, though it's not a mystery, is why do they come to countries that they believe are full of infidels? With uncovered women, with all kinds of salacious stuff on television, with things that they hate and preach about. My only conclusion is that it is a brilliant worldwide plan to infiltrate and subjugate. There is no other reason. I wouldn't want to move to their countries. I wouldn't want my wife to, not be able to leave the house without being completely covered up. And in Afghanistan, under the Taliban, have to be accompanied by her husband or a male relative, and if she took a bus, she could not drop the coin in the box herself. She had to give it to the male relative to drop the coin in the box. I mean, this is nutcase stuff. I mean, who would want to embrace something like that? But this is what is happening. Nobody wants to talk about it. I'm one of the few, although there are a few other voices being raised because you get labeled and called all kinds of names and full of hate and a bigot and the rest. But that is what they say they want to do. This is not me saying it. I can show you chapter and verse all over the world, in their media, in their mosques, everything. This is what their objective is. Now you can say, well, it's only a tiny percentage. Fine, 10%? Yeah, something like that. Great. There are a billion of them. That's 100 million. That's plenty to fear. We call this a follow-up question in the White House. Hold on a second. I want to get to her and one other person. I'll come back to you. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I changed my mind.
Okay.
Well, no, I was going to ask you, how do you feel about making the presidency a 6-year, one-term run?
No, I'd like to make it 2.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, if you have to do it at all. But
Yeah, really,
So
yeah.
every day,
Yeah.
the president's out there every day campaigning and not doing his job.
Yeah, I know. I know.
And-
Well, they have it in France, and that's worked out well, haven't they? The 6-year
Yeah.
term.
So,
But by the way, Carly is pregnant. I think that's a nice move just for the election campaign. Worked for JFK. She looks good in a little white outfit, a little baby bump. Isn't that cute? Yeah. Maybe you didn't see that picture. But anyway, I don't know. There are pluses and minuses to argue that. I want to hold them more accountable quicker. And yes, they're always campaigning for the second term and everything, but if they're doing a lousy job, like Obama in my judgment is on the economy and other stuff, I want to get them out of there as fast as possible before they do more damage. Yes, ma'am. Hi.
Hi. I love the way that you outlined the principles earlier in your talk, and if you follow them to their logical conclusions, what happens. And so I've just found, I'm wondering if you've found anyone from a non-conservative point of view that's willing to listen.
Oh yeah, well, this is what Beckel and I do. We'll have another column next Thursday in USA Today. You can go look at the past ones on usatoday.com under opinion and search Common Ground. Yes, and this is one of Bob's major points, by the way, when we go out and do our dog and pony show on the lecture circuit. He'll say at the end, you know, you people of whatever persuasion you are, conservative, liberal, find some people who have a different political perspective and sit down and get to know them. This has been one of the great blessings in my life in becoming a very close friend with Bob and he with me, because I've learned about his background and his struggle with alcoholism, and now he has a tremendous personal ministry to drunks, as he calls them. And I've seen him, you know, after we speak, somebody will come up, a relative or somebody who's struggling with alcoholism, and he'll sit up till 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, lose sleep, and just to be with him. But Bob's dad was, you know, marched with Dr. King. He came out of the labor movement. And I know his kids, and so you begin to see somebody as a fellow human being and not labels. In Washington, we label people: liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat. You know, the typical talk show, 2 people on it, different perspectives. You're a communist. You're a fascist. You're a secular humanist. You're a Bible-thumping bigot. And the host says, and we'll be back with more civil discussion after these messages. Real people don't talk like that. We all live in mixed political, religious neighborhoods. Come on. But the people who have done this to us are the fundraisers and some of the talk radio people and the TV folks, because it makes ratings and brings in money. See, there used to be a great social network in Washington. These wonderful women who would throw these tremendous parties inviting people of different political and educational backgrounds. And then you had the members of Congress who had their spouses in town. Now they leave them at home along with the kids, which brings all kinds of other problems. But aside from that, nobody knows each other. One of my favorite stories, I was interviewing a few years ago a Republican congressman from Kentucky. Bob and I had just started our Common Ground column. He was saying how much he enjoyed it. And he said, let me tell you a story. There's one of my colleagues who's a Democrat. I hated him. I couldn't stand to be in the same room with him. And then I was appointed to the committee that he was on, and we had to take a trip together. And we were together for 10 days straight. We were in the same hotel, we were eating together. He said, I came back with a totally different perspective on this man. I see him now as a fellow human being. I got to hear about his struggles and his wife and his kids and all this other stuff. You see, that's what I'm talking about. But nobody has time for that anymore. You know, you are evil and must be destroyed is the attitude. And that's why nothing gets done that benefits the most people. It's very, very sad and very frustrating, especially when we're paying the bills.
Right, exactly.
Jim.